Hello and welcome to Talkin' Baseball. We're talking about the old folks and the youngins. On today's episode, thanks for joining. Music increases. Hello and welcome to Talkin' Baseball. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's brought to you by SeatGeek. Code Talkin can help you out over there. My name's Jimmy. His name's Jake. Trev in the center of your screen and Beebs behind the dish. We're doing some Hall of Fame talk because Trev's buddy is a Hall of Famer and some breakout stars. Trev, you look great. How are you?
I appreciate that. Thanks, James. I'm doing well. Yes, shout out to my guy, JM7, for getting elected into the Hall of Fame yesterday. That was, for me, a no-brainer. And it was good to see that he was trending that way and finally got the news yesterday. So I'm excited to talk a little bit about that. I just noticed, though, on our little title down here, this is a great episode for me and BBD. We got episode 769. So we got JM7, BBD 69, 2024 players on the 24th of January. It's going to be a big ep for me. James, you look great.
Wow.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm good. I'm excited to have a fun Wednesday because I had a horrible. It's horrible and terrible combined. It's horrible. Maybe that's what
horrible.
Maybe that's what Charles Barkley's doing. He's combining words. Monday and Tuesday. So I'm not gummied up, but will be after this episode and everything else we record today. So I'm excited about that. Jake?
Bing bong. I was gummied up on the couch last night when I got a FaceTime from Trev. I'm like, wow, does he want to talk Hall of Fame? Does he want to? No, he's bopping with the crew, just showing off the good life. And I'm watching Lakers.
That's not what happened.
I'm watching Lakers Clippers on my couch getting made fun of for it. And you're right. I shouldn't have been watching that game. But I was having a nice night, and I'm happy for you and Joe Mauer. Man, I did have a people probably want to get your thoughts on Joe a little more than mine, but
you go first as long as you want.
Man, I tell you what, there's the getting older that everyone feels every day in different ways. When you get a little older, you feel it a little more. I remember Joe Mauer's whole recruiting. I remember the SI. I remember that. Is he going to go play QB for the Gators? Is he going to play baseball? And at that time, that's when football, was taking over everything. And Joe Mauer chose baseball. So let's go, Joe Mauer. And then the fact that I don't know, Joe Mauer's going to go to the Hall of Fame and he's still handsome and young and healthy. I don't know. I guess that's my deep dive into it, but happy for your guy. Happy for Todd. And who's the third? Oh, Adrian Beltre, who was kind of got inner circle jobbed. So good for him.
Yeah, Adrian got 95.1% of votes first year. Pretty much unanimous. That's awesome, man.
Pretty much.
He's a Hall of Famer. Remember when his nuts exploded?
Oh, God.
That's still the first thing that
I
pops
don't really
into my
remember
head.
that, so.
Yeah, well, he didn't wear a cup and took a ground ball in nuts. And they tore. He had bruised testicles.
Yeah, I think I do remember that now. That's
Yeah.
very rare that he would miss a ground ball because that's kind of what he's known for.
True.
Those ground balls.
True.
I do have a quick story, it happened yesterday. I think Talking Baseball fans would enjoy it before we get into this. I'm on vacation somewhere. I don't want to give away the location because one of another future Hall of Famer is here. Zack Greinke is here.
Oh, wow.
And, someone pointed it out to me, and I said, I'm going to go say what's up. I knew that might be.
That's such a recipe to get insulted.
It's tough. It's tough,
Oh, no.
I knew I had to. So I said, hey, Zack, what's up, man? Trevor Plouffe, good to see you. How's everything going? He said, oh, hey, Trevor, you had a homer off me once, didn't you? It's the first thing he said to me. And I was like, I don't think so, Zack. If I don't really recall hitting one off you. He said, no, you did. We were in Milwaukee and all this stuff. And we really didn't get off of that. Like he was kind of fixated on like I hit a homer off him. And I was like, I didn't really hit a homer off you. Come back later. I see him again, and by that time I look my stats up against him. 1 for 9, 4 Ks, no homers. So I go, hey Zach, just so you know, 1 for 9, 4 Ks, no homers. He goes, oh, that's right. You were easy. And then he turns and goes back to dinner with his family, and I said, all right, that's it. That's my interaction with you for the weekend. See you later.
Walked you once.
It was the exact. I mean, if I had to go back in time and say, how's this conversation going to go? It went exactly how I probably should have thought.
Your one hit was first pitch, single to left field, ground ball through shortstop, third base hole.
Just weak.
Yeah. Yeah, your ground out, your first ever,
Oh my
in
God.
parentheses, it says weak.
Come on.
It says ground
That's not
out,
right.
shortstop, weak. Strikeout looking, ground out, force out, strikeout swinging, walk, 3-1 walk.
Hey.
Ground out. Oh my God, your other ground out says weak.
Oh.
Strikeout swinging. And then line
Then you
out.
got it in the air.
Line out, deep left field.
Maybe that's what he
What
thought.
team
I
was
mean, he was
that?
disgusted when he thought that he had the home run. To me.
Greinke was on the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So I mean, they probably had a Gold Glover and left. Like that's a lot of days. That's it. That's it's a triple.
Carl Crawford.
Oh my! He covered ground.
Yeah,
out
exactly. Anyways, that's my Zach Greinke story.
That's
Shout out
awesome.
Zach. He's a nice guy.
there. It's pretty awesome.
That's so sick. Get him in
He'll
spring. or
never
something?
remember that either. If I
All right,
meet
I
him
got
again
the
or
I got
say
the
hi,
deep
he won't
fly. I
remember that.
found it.
So hey,
What inning did it come in?
heart of your hearts. Do you think he was like setting you up, or do you think he was just trying to keep it moving, or do you think he thought you took him up top? Like, what do you think that was?
I think he saw me. He was like, "This chump took me up top," and he was like not happy with himself. He wished he can go back and take that pitch away, but I had to remind him, no, I didn't. Because I remember every single one of my 106 career big league homers.
Are you watching it?
Yeah, I found it.
Okay.
Bottom 5. Okay, so the first batter bloops in. Greinke's at 80 pitches. He's striking you out twice.
Okay.
Let's see. We got a ground out to first. So do you come up next? Nope. Our guy Mauer's up next.
Okay.
He strikes out. Fourth strikeout for Greinke.
Little lineup protection. Trevor
So
Plouffe.
At one point, you were 2 of his 3 strikeouts. So you're 2 of 4 now. Oh, here's Trev. Real straight up. Like your real stiff front leg stance. Yeah, that's what you're doing.
Good time.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. You
that's
got
out in a lot of ballparks.
No.
Oh.
But you love the contact. Do you want me to come walk it to the camera and show you?
I don't. I'm okay. I can't even see you guys anyway. So
Well, you didn't have an option.
okay, it's coming.
So let's see.
Oh, I got it
Greinke,
now. Okay.
good delivery. That's a sweet spot of sorts.
As good as we're gonna get.
Let's see. Here's the pitch from Greinke. Oh,
Oh, finding.
Oh,
lost the mouse. Oh boy.
Oh,
Okay. What's
okay.
this?
Throwing it in.
Here we
Okay.
go. No.
Not you.
I don't
That's
know.
not
Yeah,
you.
I'm sorry. I brought this up. I'm sorry, guys. It's led us
Mauer.
down a rabbit hole.
Okay, punches out Hall of Famer Joe Mauer, so it's applicable.
And now that
okay,
looked like
got
you.
your hands in. I mean, yeah.
2000. I can just tell by my stance. That's 2014, if I had to guess.
I don't,
I mean, the outfielder,
It's
he was on the
2014.
move.
I don't know if Schwartz catches that.
That's
All
true.
right, guys. All right, guys.
He walked you in
Thanks for the pump
2012.
If you want to go see some Hall of Famers and some future Hall of Famers, go to SeatGeek. Download the SeatGeek Sportsbook app. 28 million downloads. The #1 rated ticketing app. 70,000 events every day on SeatGeek. And we've got the hookup for you. Code Talkin. $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. $20 off your first purchase. Promo code Talkin. Click the link in the description. Go watch something. Simple as that.
Put your eyes on the screen.
Say you got to see a Hall of Famer. Did you send Joe a text? Like, what happened on your end?
I did. I sent him a text just saying, congrats and well deserved. Obviously, didn't get anything back yet. I'm sure he's
Busy.
You got a lot of text.
Got a lot of
got a lot of
texts.
texts. Yeah. Well, a lot of people love the guy. He's very, that's who he is. So, do you want to get into that? What are we doing here? We're gonna talk about Joe a little bit. We're gonna.
Dude, Trev, you're nasty. 3-hole Trev Plouffe in this game. At the time, 304 batting average, 409 on base, 887 OPS.
I started off hot in 14. I had like a epiphany in the cage in Chicago. It was like 4 degrees outside, and I found something out, and I rode it for like a month. I had a really, really strong April in 2014. I remember that.
That's awesome. Colabello.
Yeah, me and Chris
Behind you?
Colabello were like crushing it.
It's just power. There's a lot of raw power there.
Go,
Yeah,
Trev,
no big
go.
deal. I had like a 4-war year that year or something like that. No big deal.
Oh, damn. Looks like Greinke might have been like the stopper of it after that game. He really
Probably,
twisted
yeah.
you up.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Trev, what I guess when we talked about this last night, because we want to show the Hall of Famers love. It ends up in it's a tricky thing because it's like, hey, Todd Helton, really good, more walks and career strikeouts, almost 1.1 for 5 years. Adrian Beltre, we kind of did like a couple eps ago, and we talked about how truly good he is, and has some all-time arguments for him. Joe Mauer's a dude you shared a locker room with for a while, so I think that's probably the best thing to let you talk about for a little bit, and then we can highlight maybe some next future Hall of Famers.
I like that. I mean, look, Joe, anyone that's followed the game remembers Joe as a catcher, I would say. And he just had every single skill set that you could have, as an athlete, not just a baseball player. And you talked about his football recruiting saga. It was actually Florida State, not Florida Gators, that he signed with. He could spin it. He's a basketball player. I think everyone knows that. He was just an all-around incredible athlete. But you got him on that baseball field, and things were just different. His swing was so repeatable. I'd say if you went and watched videos of Joe in 2006, you'd probably have the same video. You couldn't tell if it was from 2006 or if it was from 2017. Like, he just was so consistent with how he approached his swing because it worked. He didn't have to make many changes. And if he did, it was very, very small adjustments. So he had that swing that was just so pretty and so consistent. But I remember the first time I really got, or I was like super impressed with Joe was I was taking throws from him at shortstop, like doing infield, outfield in spring training. He could rip the ball, dude. Like when he threw the ball, that's the first time I've ever thought about like spin rate or like life really from somebody other than a pitcher. That ball came off and you thought it was going to skip. Like there were times where you thought this ball, you're going to have to pick it and it would just hit you in the palm because it just had that extra giddy up on it, man. And it was just so effortless. And I feel like I'm doing him a disservice by saying, oh, it was so natural. It's effortless. All this. This dude worked. But when you saw him on the field, everything just looked effortless. It just looked so natural. And I don't think people also realize how big of a person he is. I got to say he's 6'4", and he's got a little bit of weight to him, but he just move gracefully. Like he's one of those guys he could run too, when needed. Like everything that you wanted as an athlete, Joe was it. And then to top it off, which really pisses me off sometimes, he's just so nice, man. Like he's genuinely just like a awesome person and a great husband and a great dad. And like sometimes you're like, man, like where's the flaw, Joe? And I haven't found one yet. I really haven't. And that's the truth. Like he's a guy, man. And if you're from Minnesota or the surrounding areas, I feel like everyone considers him like part of their family, like an extended, like a cousin or something, man. Like people just love this guy. And I mean, I don't know what else there is to say, but congratulations, obviously, Joe. You're not just a Hall of Fame ball player, you're a Hall of Fame person.
Yes.
Great.
That's true.
So Joe Mauer was the #1 QB recruit. You're right about Florida State. He was going to follow Chris Winkie, who won the Heisman, and other QBs that he was ranked ahead of. Matt Leinart, Kellen Clemens, Derek Anderson. So, like, he's, I don't know. Dude was no joke. Hit 600 in high school, too, it mentions there, which is always just a reminder, like, okay.
Do you guys remember the Brett Gardner slide play? Like, just shit like that. This guy's got some incredible highlights, like he reaching around the net, catching the foul ball. That play with Brett Gardner, the play where he catches the ricochet behind his back without even looking. Like, he's a freak, dude. A freak.
Awesome.
Oh.
Trey Mancini has signed a minor league deal with the Miami Marlins.
Wow.
There we go.
Oh. Get it, Trey?
Gabe Kapler right there.
Oh. Saw a picture of him at Jameson Tyone's wedding, I believe. Congrats, JMO.
Mancini?
Yeah.
Congrats, JMO.
Where do they
Cubs.
connect? Cubs?
My brother was at a wedding this winter that Trey Mancini was at.
Oh,
Wow.
wedding season.
He was at a couple weddings this year.
Wow.
Good stuff.
I think it was like his college roommate or something my brother works with. I don't know. Notre Dame guy.
Okay. Anything else on Helton or blanking?
Adrian Beltre.
Beltre.
No?
I mean, obviously, I don't know
careers.
them as much as I know Joe, but incredible players. Beltre, I learned so much about just watching him, and he was always incredibly kind and willing to share information. I remember people telling me, don't watch how he does things because you can't do it like that.
Ooh.
And it's true. Like, he he threw the ball a little differently, like all those different arm angles that he had. But really, another guy that just, you could learn so much by watching, what he did in between pitches and kind of where he set up and how the best infielders are anticipators, and you could just see like him anticipating, and he was just so good at that. And he always was so low. I think if I tell young kids that all the time, if you're going to play infield, you have to stay low. Like, that is you have to be as close to the ground as possible for as long as possible. And Beltre was like, that's what he did. He was always low, always getting into the ball, and it didn't matter where he had to throw from. That shit was on the mark. It's never bunt on him. That was basically the rule.
Good rule. Nice.
Yeah, congrats to all those guys.
Congrats. And do we have like any ballots out? Are people ripping on anyone?
Yes.
Always.
Ballots,
But any specifically terrible ones?
Many.
Yeah, I don't think we can do that.
Okay. I always like the
300
guy.
ballots.
Yeah, but there's usually one guy who voted for.
There's
There's
always
a
a
few
few.
no votes this year. There's always a few. How could you vote for this guy?
Oh, I'm a
not
no
that
vote
guy?
fan.
Right.
Why'd you only vote? You only voted Rod? Like,
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Small hall.
I think some of the other things like
They're
to talk
weirder
about,
ones than
Gary
that.
Sheffield didn't make it. That was his last time on the ballot. So his chance now will be with the committee later on.
I'm small hall.
He was close. He was close. And he was kind of like, gaining traction, and then it just didn't happen when the ballots, kind of were all in at the end. But he was the closest one.
That's a bummer. Sure, that's a sad day. But in
Billy
like 20
Wagner's
years,
really
you can get in.
close.
Yeah, I think Billy's getting in next year. He was like 3 votes away.
I think five votes short Billy was, and he is the last year next year, which always gets a little bit of a bump.
Yeah.
All right, well, we got some future Hall of Famers going to break out this year.
I think so. We put a tweet out yesterday. It's hear from the people season. Always a Talkin' Baseball reminder. You know your team better than us. But you also daydream a little bigger this time of year. So we want to see who people were daydreaming on as the next breakout stars. We got a bunch of tweets and responses, so thank you guys for that. And we sorted through a few and wanted to highlight a few bodies. So I don't know if anyone wants to kick off particularly.
Yeah, I mean, I just got a guy that I'm rooting for, basically.
Good.
So it's not like a Keith Law statistical, I think he's going to break out because of this. It's just, hey, I'd like this guy to do good. Logan O'Hoppe.
Yeah.
Brutal injury last year when he was off to, a 2014 Trevor Plouffe-esque start. 283 batting average, 339 on base, 547 slugging, 886. Now, it's just April. It's the first month, but he was tearing it up. for a while and catching, part of the Angels when they were having fun and all that good stuff. He did make it back onto the field at the end of the year, mid-August, and then all of September. And the batting average and the on-base percentage weren't there, but he still slugged really well. I think he popped 10 homers in that month and a half, which is a lot for a month and a half for, a rookie. He had 481 slugging in those last final 35 games. So I'm down on the Angels, but I'm up on Hoppy. Happy kid from the East Coast, friends with Nicky Cass. I want to see him tear it up. And, catchers who can hit. Let's do it.
I like that. I was looking to see where he was drafted. What's his, his prospect pedigree, if you will. 23rd round out of high school by the Phillies. And then the dude just banged and got himself into the conversation as, an up-and-comer and a guy that we all have been watching and wanting to break out. So I like that. I like that when you get a guy that's drafted late and just gets in the pro ball and crushes it.
He's 23 years old. Doesn't get to catch Ohtani anymore. That's a bummer. Oh, man, he crushed fastballs. What you expect from a rookie. But he dominated fastballs.
Got a little taste of everywhere. Unfortunately, the IL, but he comes back and he plays with he at least shows the pop, which, if you have a shoulder injury, that's one of the concerns, so he showed that. The beginning of the year, he was a little more contacty and on base. He was at the bottom of the lineup, got moved up to the middle of the lineup for the Halos late in the year. He got a little taste of everything. So just bring it this year. The pride of West Islip, New York?
Islip, I think. I don't know. I'd ask Islip. Islip. I was wrong.
Look at that.
Maybe Islip's another place.
Pronunciation pod.
Oh, it has been? Who do you got, Jake?
A lot of kids on those Halos. I'm excited for the guy Trev's going to talk about.
Okay.
So that's how you tease the people a little bit?
Yeah.
You keep them going?
You want me to go? You want me to go? You want me to go?
No.
Trev sounds hungry.
No, I'm
not
good.
hungry, actually.
I'm starting to get hungry that time of day, skipping breakfast. That's how you keep this figure. I'm going to go with an obvious one, but it's one that I don't know. I think we probably need to talk about more. Grayson Rodriguez. Top pitching prospect, right? Sometimes with these top prospects, you kind of want that instant. Okay, get called up. Give me the Strasburg 45 strikeout game in his first game. Grayson Rodriguez got that tough major league love. He got called up for the baby birds. Meanwhile, they're rolling, and he was getting popped. And we've talked about this a little bit on Talkin' Baseball. But man, oh man, his first 10 games, welcome to the big leagues, top pitching prospect Grayson Rodriguez. 45.1 innings to the tune of a 7.35 ERA. A guy that's been dominant his whole baseball life up into that point. Welcome to the show. You're getting lit up. He goes back down to the minors. Who knows what he takes in at that point? Orioles fans, you probably know better than me. What was the biggest change? Was it pitch mix? Was it demeanor? Was it staying away from something? He comes back up middle of July. Hey, these birds need you. We need pitching. Who are they going to add at the deadline? Are they going to get Cease, bro? 13 starts, 76.2 innings, a 2.58 ERA. In a way, you could already say he broke out. But I think it's these Orioles, like every team in baseball now, except like the Phillies and a couple of the big boys, are looking for that sustained success. They don't want to necessarily put the chips all in on the table until their hand is forced. I mean, a Baltimore team that went on to win 101 games still doesn't feel like their hands are forced at all. And part of the reason is because they say Grayson Rodriguez is going to be one of the best pitchers in the AL next year. And they might be right, man. I mean, getting to watch him pitch, sometimes we say these generic stuff about, to be a starting pitcher, you really need 3 or things like that. Man, watching him pitch his fastball, his slide curve, and then his right-on-right changeup for a young pitcher, you just don't see it. You don't see it. So, Yeah, man. There's an argument he already broke out, but I think for the full year it's coming.
I think he's going to add some different fastballs to his repertoire. That's what he did when he came back at the end of the year. He upped the fastball. He got rid of the cutter and used the changeup more. So when he first came up, he was trying to use the slider, the curve. He was like more of a mix. By the end in September, he threw the fastball 56% of the time, upped it to 50. And then I was just reading an article saying he might try to get a little two-seamer in there as well. So it seems like he came up not knowing what his pitch mix as an MLB pitcher is going to be. Or that kind of got like, oh, shit, like thrown in his face. Because the article I'm reading says, he came back up. He's like, I got to throw my fastball better. Just spot it. Good
I think that was
fastball.
location for him because his fastball got crushed early on. I think it's all location with that pitch. And, his off-speed pitches, you mentioned the changeup, the slider, those are good for him. But if you can't locate the fastball, doesn't matter how hard you throw, doesn't matter your extension, anything like that, it's going to get blasted. And I was looking at, when he first came up in the month of May, he had 5 games, 1 dot against him for the OPS, 1.246. That's got to hurt the ego a little bit. You get sent down, and then honestly, to come back up and have success like that really shows you have the stuff, but the mental fortitude, as Jake likes to say, to handle that it's impressive, especially for a young guy. So I like the Grayson Rodriguez pick right there.
Career in the minor leagues, 333 innings, a 2.4 ERA.
Yummy.
I bet his high school stats are decent too. So, man, to be 23 at the show, you'd never been lit up in your life. You get called up, you get lit up. And hey, a little credit to him because a lot of people can feel a lot of different emotions in that situation. He went down to AAA and he looks like he was embarrassing some kids. He had a 1.96 ERA in 41 innings. So
just taking it out.
Yeah.
Dad beats.
You want me to be good? Bam.
Yeah. Dad beats the older brother in basketball. So older brother turns around and beats his infant brother.
Playing one-on-one versus the dog.
Yeah.
Been there.
Hit this.
Tucker, get over here.
Tucker was good. Tucker
was good.
That's why you sent him away.
He commanded the ball. He went to a better home.
Okay. Yeah. All dogs go to heaven. That's a movie.
Tucker might still be alive. We gave him to a tree fell in our backyard.
Lady and the Tramp is also a movie. If you want to name one, Jake.
Dogs. And 101 Dalmatians. I'm going to go with a catcher. We're going to stay
Homeward Bound
with the battery. That's Air Bud.
My dog Skip.
Now we're rolling.
Some good movies right there. Right. Darn it. I'm going to stay with catcher.
Marley and Me.
That's a sad movie. Don't you dare bring that movie
Secret
up.
Life of Pets.
Don't you dare do that.
Up.
That is a dog movie.
Yeah, sneakily. Okay. You think it's not a dog movie.
That's a sneaky dog.
That opening scene, I've never seen it.
Halfway through the movie, it's just dogs, like alien dogs. Like, what? You guys really rope me into this.
Spoilers.
Played that at a middle school dance, then I just walked in after the opening scene that's so sad. So I've only seen the fun part of the movie.
Yeah. All right, Trev. Who's your breakout star? We've teased it enough.
Okay,
he's a dog.
We teased it a lot. He's a catcher. I don't know if I said that yet. This is a guy who's kind of been blocked, I guess, and the block is gone. I'm going with Luis Campusano of the San Diego Padres. This guy mashes, dude. And we kind of talk about how if you can have a catcher that gives you as an offensive threat in this game, it's like a cheat code, kind of. Like you're ahead of the game. Like if you can get offense from your catching position, your roster is going to be better from it. So his story, he's had a few chances, never really got an extended run. He's been blocked by, Nola, and then he got hurt. So they bring Gary Sanchez in, and all of a sudden Gary Sanchez becomes Blake Snell's personal catcher. So they're, he's had some time, but not enough. Both those guys are gone now. He's going to get the bulk of the catching duties in 2024. And dude, you got to watch this guy swing that bat. He takes absolute monster hacks. Like for a catcher to take hacks like that, like you just don't see it that often. And he does, man. So I'm excited to watch him. In limited time last year, 163 at bats. He hits 319, 491 slug, 134 OPS plus. That's, you put up numbers like that, you're going to be a top 5 offensive catcher. So this is a guy who's finally going to get, enough at bats to put up those counting stats to kind of like show he belongs. And when you're going to be the guy, and you know that even if you struggle a little bit, you're still going to get playing time and not get sent down. Like, it just, there's something about that gives you confidence. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing, how they use him, how much, because they did bring in our guy Higashioka there. And the thing that's kind of really interesting to me is you have this guy, Luis Campusano, I'm talking about now. He's going to be a good big league hitter. But like they're one of their top prospects with the Padres is that 14-year-old catcher kid.
Salas.
So if he stays a catcher, it's like, yeah, Ethan Salas. This window might not be open for too long. So it's kind of like, if you're him, you got to take advantage and then kind of see like which one's going to be trade bait, or it's an interesting kind of like career that he's had, having to, not really, get his shot just yet, but he's going to get it knowing that the guy behind him is this young kind of phenom. Sometimes I had that with Miguel Sano. It's all they ever talked about was, when are we going to get this fucking guy Plouffe out of here and bring up Miguel Sano? And it motivates you, man. You're like, fuck that. Like, I'm here. I'm a good player. So I think we're going to see not only him have the confidence from playing every day, but also, a little bit of push from the guy that's behind him that everybody else is talking about. Seriously though, if you haven't watched this guy play, go watch him take hacks, because it's pretty cool.
I will say, and I know that Salas is a freak and probably the expectation, not the rule. Catcher is a position that usually marinates longer in the minor leagues, for sure. Like a lot of catchers, like Hoppy 23 is pretty young in my opinion for catcher. But all those guys that usually get called up that are 19, 20, 21 years old, very rarely is that at the catching position. I don't have the data in front of me, but because you work with all the pitching staff, you really
There's more things you got to learn.
You really need to.
Salas is 17. He reached Double-A last year.
No, I know he's an outlier for sure. Yeah, it's crazy. But even like Adley, what was he, 24 when his rookie year?
I think so.
Yeah, he was out of college though, right?
Yeah, he did the college guy. Campusano's interesting because building off of what you just mentioned, Jim, he actually got called up one game in 2020, 21 years old, homers.
Yeah.
Can be a worst case scenario sometime. Top 100 prospect that, you've got your fan base saying, we need this guy. This guy's a stud. And then you see that, you start salivating, Miguel Andujar. Then he comes up, some injuries. He gets just a sample at the big league level, and he doesn't hit 11 games, nothing, 16 games, nothing. He gets 49 games last year, hits a lot. He just turned 25. There's a lot of opportunity to be a San Diego Padres hitter. That even if, if the catcher thing comes into play, if you're hitting, they'll find a spot for you, kid. And there was a stat out there. IPA percentage, new stat alert.
Yeah, I have something to go off what you were saying too as well. But what's IPA?
Barrel percentage plus solid contact, plus flare burner percentage. I don't have that one. Divided by plate appearances. Luis Campusano, the only guys above him were Arise, Acuna, Bichette, Freeman, and Seager. A list of pretty good hitters. So, hey, that's obviously a butter knife of a butter knife, but the kid had some good ABs last year.
I used to use this line of thinking a lot with Luke Voigt, who was blocked with the Cardinals. And when he got traded to the Yankees and he started really performing, one of the things he said, he's like, well, I didn't get to play there. I played every 3 days. I came in for one at-bat at the end of the game. I never got 4 at-bats a day, regularly knew I was going to get at-bats and get into a rhythm. And when you look at those game logs for Campusano in 2021 and 2022, it's very much that. He never got a string of starts where he was feeling good. He's, starting this day, sitting, starting, off the bench. And he didn't even get that this year in April, where he was kind of every other day or coming off the bench. But on July 19th, they switched, and he became the regular catcher. And from July 19th to September 24th, he appeared in 42 games, started 36 of those games. He slashed 331, 375 on base, 500 slugging, and 875 OPS. So a lot of those other years, you have to kind of look at them and be like, that's really tough to do.
Yeah.
Especially when you're young. No, I'm not saying that this is who he's going to be, because he would be in the Hall of Fame already. They would just stamp it if he had those numbers as an average. But I just think that line of thinking, when Voit said that, opened my mind to like, oh, you kind of really need to look at these, like, what were they doing?
Yes.
Being just a role player is a really tough thing to do. You're not going to get hot, really.
I mean, there are times where when you're a role player on the bench and you have to take the at-bats off the nastiest pitcher because we're going to get the starter out of there so you don't get him out of his rhythm. Like a bad lefty-lefty matchup, all of a sudden you're in against this nasty dude. And you haven't played in 4 or 5 days. Yeah, it's a lot of the times when you first come up as a young guy, you're going to get those at-bats and you try to do your best with them and just put quality at-bats together. And the coaching staff and everybody, like, don't worry about your numbers. Like your role is what it is. But how do you not worry about your numbers, dude?
It's a great coaching
like,
line.
They'll say that, and it's nice to hear. Like, okay, I guess. Like, I'm not gonna get like sent down because I'm horrible, but there's a massive jumbotron, and they show my numbers on there, and I see them, and it means something. But yeah, once you start getting those everyday ABs and can get into a rhythm, I think that's when you can really start to judge.
These numbers.
Player you are.
These numbers only affect my salary and my lifestyle and my family and all of that. So
Mental health.
I won't worry about them. I won't worry about them.
Yeah.
But that's my guy.
Great pick.
So can I say that when we go to arbitration? Oh, don't worry about those numbers. Remember when I moved that runner over?
Look at this.
Remember when I was a really good teammate? I clapped for them, even though I was benched.
I was a good clapper.
Who's the Brewers head coach? Manager
Murphy.
Now? Pat Murphy. Got a clip of Pat Murphy saying, "Don't worry about your stats and just play that for the arbitration for the arbiter."
Yeah, Mrs. Arbiter. This is what my coach told me halfway through the year. Don't worry about your stats, kid. And now
don't worry about your stats. Be a good teammate.
This conversation,
$12 million, please.
Seems all about my stats. So I'm confused.
You can understand where I'm getting a little jumbled up.
Is that the episode?
So
good job.
It was a good episode.
Wow.
Shout out Royce Lewis. That was going to be my other pick.
Oh my God.
How about it?
I'll see you
Comment who your
days,
breakout
bruh.
star is.
Noel V. Noel V. I like this Reds
Gainer
team, man.
Diaz, CJ Abrams, Riley Green.
A lot of breakout players in Cincy. I like them.
I'm going to go hang out with Zack Greinke. You know what? I'm breaking the wall down, dude.
Bam.